Would you like to sum up what we discussed in executive session?
Yes, we had 4 requests tonight for extensions of existing approvals, and we wanted to discuss conceptually and not to resolve any of the extensions tonight or any particular extension in the future, but to discuss and maybe share, and then to share with the public what we see, what the board sees as its function in these extensions. Extensions are being requested now largely due to the economy. Some are requested because other permitting processes are not completed, such as land development or the need for more ordinances. We have granted a number of extensions. We're authorized to grant them in 6 months increments. But I think it's important that applicants understand that the board doesn't grant them indefinitely. Each case is on its own. The recession is certainly something to be considered, but the board also has to take into account planning and changed circumstances and evidence of whether an approval is being legitimately pursued or is sort of being banked to see what happens later. I think it's where there's a work that's being done that's holding the project up. In other words, the project is in land development when there may need to be other things that are being done, but at least something's happening. That militates in favor of an extension, or may militate in favor of an extension. But I think if I understand, Madam Chairman, the board's sentiment, the message is that extensions are given, and they don't mean that you will get another one necessarily. Each one is going to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. And at some point, at any point, the board can decide and has the authority to decide not to grant an extension of an approval. So did I sum that up adequately, Madam
Yes,
Chairman?
thank you. All right, we received several letters asking for continuances, and I think I'll handle them by person representing them. So you don't have to keep making a trip back and forth. We'll start with Mr. Cornelia. Appeal of Radnor Center Associates, premise 100 Matson Ford Road, Wayne, PA, appeal number 2827. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, that is the one I believe I had PDF'd a letter to Mr. Ryan and Mr. Baumann, and I also handed up an original of that letter to Ms.
Now, these are both continuances of hearings as opposed to extensions of approvals.
Yes. They're continuances, right. And the first one was, they're both requesting signs. They're both are trying to obtain additional evidence, and for that reason, we're requesting the continuance.
Okay. That would be Radnor Center Associates, appeal number 2827. They are actively working on this.
And the other one, okay, and this one,
Let's do one at a
actually
time.
I had, on that one, I had requested the continuance until the June hearing date, and I put that in the letter and gave the board an extension of time until
Yes.
Radnor Center
Radnor
Associates.
Center.
And you'll notice I always say until Friday, just in case that for
It
some
changes,
reason, if we
right.
went longer.
Zoning hearing is scheduled for June 17th, 2010.
Right, yeah, that's what we're requesting for
Okay.
that hearing date.
Any questions from the board?
Just from the 2827, is that what we're talking about?
Yes, we're talking continuing this to June meeting. So you're skipping May and going to
We're
June?
skipping May, yes.
Okay.
Is that what, as I read them, you're on, it's 2827, you're going for June, but the letter for 2826, 200 West Lancaster Avenue is
It's
May.
for May, correct.
Okay.
So you're looking for May for 2826 and June for 2827.
That is correct.
All right, let's vote on 2827. That's the Radnor Center Associates. All those in favor of granting the extension? Or continuance, I should say. Fine. All right, so it's granted until June 18th, 2010. The next one is Appeal PNC Bank, premises at 200 West Lancaster Avenue, Wayne, PA, Appeal 2826. And in this one, you're asking for a continuance to May 21st, 2010.
That's correct.
Same reason?
Same reason,
All
yes.
right. Comments from the board? All those in favor of granting the continuance? Aye. So it's granted.
Thank you.
Next item is appeal of Agnes Irwin School, number 2806, 295 South Ithan Avenue. And by opinion mailed on April 1st, 2009, the zoning board granted relief to the above applicant. A 6-month extension to obtain a building permit was granted on July 16, 2009. The applicant has received preliminary plan approval from the township. It was as filed for the final plan improvement. Prior to being able to submit building plans, the applicant will also be required to receive an MPDES permit, permits from Army Corps of Engineers, a PA DEP, and approvals for sewer modules from various governmental agencies. As a result, the applicant respectfully requests an additional 6-month extension of time.
Madam Chairman, just like the record to reflect that I'm taking no part in the consideration of the request
Right.
insofar as the school is a client of my law firms.
All right, thank you. Mr.
Yeah,
Keneally?
And this one, actually, we have received final plan approval from the Planning Commission, so next time we're before the Board of Commissioners. So we
Okay.
have caucus, and then hopefully final plan approval, and then we still have to do design review board and all the other permitting.
And
Thanks.
Mr. Cornelia, if I recollect correctly, this was actually approved by the zoning board, and then because questions arose at the planning commission level, it had to come back to
Right.
us. And in that instance, we held that further zoning board approval was not required, but it did have to come back to us,
Correct.
and that was not the applicant's
Yeah,
fault.
Right, correct, which further delayed the whole process here. And I know the board wants to grant 6-month extensions, and so that's why I requested the 6-month extension, although, you know, I may be back in another
So
6
you're
months,
looking
and we don't have
for
all the permits.
October
Yes,
2010.
it would be 6 month from April, so it would be, yes, I'm sorry. On July 16th, so that would be to July 16th, 2010.
Oh, you're going from the July 2009? No, wait.
I'm just trying to think.
6 month,
The last
July-
time,
When does your
we-
current extension expire?
It expired.
January.
The current one expired. No, it wasn't, it was January.
January 2010.
And remember, you didn't have a hearing?
Yeah.
The one date, and I agreed, and I know you did, you postponed the extension hearings until after that. I made the application in time, it's just, you didn't have a hearing one of those
That's
months, I
correct.
think.
Yes, I remember that. So you gave us the ability to
Right.
not have that meeting, and
Right,
we
right.
review it.
And I'm just trying to see if it's, if it was granted, see, it was granted on July 16th. Let me, if I may, if I look at the decision, I may be able to tell you.
I kind of think we
when
should grant it from 6 months from today. I mean,
Okay.
since we didn't have a meeting in
Right.
January, and we didn't have a meeting in March, it really wasn't the applicant's
I
fault
agree.
of that. So, I mean, I would just say 6 months from this meeting.
So that would be October 15th.
Okay, great. Okay.
Any other comments or questions from the board? All those in favor of granting?
You might make it, that could continue the extension through the regularly scheduled October meeting. That way, if they have to come
Okay.
back, because I don't know if the regularly scheduled
Most
meeting
likely, that's early, yeah, the 15th.
is a little early.
Yeah, it would be October 21st would be the regular
Okay,
meeting.
so we'll continue through October 21.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. That is granted. Next, Kaplan Stewart. A letter regarding 107 North Aberdeen Avenue, request for extension of zoning relief, Radnor Township zoning appeal 2791. And somebody's here? Yes?
Good evening, George Brosman here for the applicant, 105 Aberdeen LP. It involves 107 North Aberdeen Avenue.
Okay. And what is the reason?
This case, you'll remember, this is on North Aberdeen Avenue, sort of adjacent to the Acme. We were before the zoning board, I think 2 different times. We amended our application, and after that, the client did diligently pursue getting an engineered plan. We got a preliminary land development plan done and approved, went through all of that, and then since that time, they've been working very hard to get tenants, and it's the economy. and they have not been able to move ahead. They
So
said-
you have all your land development approvals in place?
We don't have final land development approval, but we went ahead right away. I think we got our zoning approval it was in October, or it was earlier than October. We got our land development approval in November, and right away we went in for that, and then the economy just went down, so.
Do you need to know who your tenants are in order to get the correct number of parking spots, and that's why you're waiting for your final approval?
That's part of it, and just to know that there would even be tenants. I mean, in this economy, if you might remember, they were going to be retail shops, and they press very hard. It's obviously in their interest to, they're not doing well with the property just sitting there empty. So they've pressed very hard to try to find tenants, and they've had no luck.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Kathy, when did we pass this initially? Is this the,
Let's
it's the second time
see.
you've here, right? Didn't you
This
ask
is
for-
my third time.
Third time.
You've given me
Okay.
2 6-month extensions.
Would you like me to read the letter?
No,
Okay.
no, I was just looking for the date.
The
And he
first
answered it.
time
He
I
answered
asked
it.
for 12 months, envisioning that I'd be in this situation, and the board only does 6 months, so bless you. You gave me 2 before, and this would be our third.
Okay.
Will there be a fourth?
I can't tell you. I certainly heard what Mr. Ryan said,
that's the
and
point.
each time we've applied, I've never taken for granted that we would get an extension. We don't take it for granted, but I think this case, because the client they showed they were serious about the project. They went right ahead and got preliminary land development approval at great expense, and that plan is actually vested under the MPC. Doesn't mean that our zoning is vested because of your 6-month rule, but they were definitely committed to the project and still would be. But I can't tell you, Mr. Manny,
Okay.
that I won't be. We certainly hope we won't be.
But, you know, probably you should bring some kind of record next time, what activities have been taken
Sure.
by the client.
Assuming there's a next time. Questions from other members? No? Are we in favor of granting the continuance? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So it's granted.
Thank
For
you.
6 months, so that would be to our October meeting.
Yeah, through October 21 would be the date.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, and
Thank you.
good night.
Thank you.
Okay, the last one
We have
is.
2 more of them.
Okay. I have the one regarding 2789.
Yeah, and then I've got one for 147 Pennsylvania Avenue, which
I don't see that in the pile.
didn't get in the pile. I've got the original
Oh,
here.
okay.
And I think I PDF'd it to the board, but
Okay.
with all the emails I could.
All right.
Which one is this?
Okay, the one we're doing right now is Appeal 2789, Appeal of Paul Mastropieri, Rite Aid, 237 to 245 East Lancaster Avenue, Wayne. It says our file number, I guess that's referring to the lawyer, is 0080881. Dear zoning board members, I am writing to respectfully request an extension of zoning relief for granted to the above referenced matter. On November 19, 2009, the zoning board granted a request for a 6-month extension, which I believe extends to May 21, 2010. I am respectfully requesting an additional 6-month extension through November 21, 2010. As you may recall, the applicant has been pursuing proposed zoning ordinance amendment to permit this project to move forward. Currently, the matter is still before the Planning Commission, and a public hearing before the Board of Commissioners on the proposed ordinance amendment has not yet been scheduled. The ordinance amendment was revised at the request of the Board of Commissioners, which accounts for the additional delay. Assuming that the zoning ordinance amendment is enacted by the Board of Commissioners, we will still have to attain land development approval, which of course will take some time. Very truly yours, Don Petroza. I don't see Don. Is there anybody here representing this?
Does it have to be?
No, there doesn't have to
Okay.
be. I've advised applicants in the past that it's a good idea to come to hearings. Now, this letter does actually recite what's being done and why they haven't brought it over the finish line, and it appears that that is, you know, they notwithstanding their diligent efforts, they haven't been able to bring it over the finish line yet because of the process. But on this and the others, I always think I've always advised people to come to the hearing to ask for their extensions, particularly, you know, since they're not going to be, you know, they're not handed out automatically.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay.
I just wonder what they're doing. There is a sign in front of the building saying available.
Yeah, I noticed
I
that.
just wonder what time frame they have in mind of getting this accomplished.
Well, if I may add, Kathy,
Yes.
they were approved at this month's planning commission.
They were approved. Okay.
To drive through by special exception.
Does that send them back to us because we have to grant the
It does
special
not.
exception?
The next step is because it was already introduced by the Board of Commissioners, it's going to go back to the Board of Commissioners at May 10th for a public hearing.
This is
Okay.
the ordinance that creates the special exception.
That's correct.
But once the ordinance is enacted, if it is going to be done by special exception,
Then it will come back to the
they're
zoning
gonna
hearing
come
board.
back here.
Okay,
So,
that's what I thought.
given where we are,
Yeah, they need some time. Okay. All right. All those in favor of granting the extension? And that would take it to
November 21. they
November
request.
21, or the November meeting,
Yeah.
whichever that is, 2010. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That is granted. Next one, application of Rosedon Holding Company Limited Partnership before the Zoning Hearing Board of Radnor Township, 147 Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't see a reference on here as to the number, but it says, "Dear John, I have been requested by my client, George Spader of Rosedon, to request, request an opportunity to appear before the Zoning Hearing Board to attempt to extend the repeating 6-month viability period for the zoning relief granted to my client some time ago. Would you kindly place the matter on the agenda for a brief appeal? Thank you." Signed, William Brennan. Is Mr. Spader here?
Mr. Brennan, anybody from?
Anybody representing this? Well,
Has this come to land development yet? 147 Pennsylvania Avenue, Matt?
John, I believe it came through as a sketch, but
this
not,
is you haven't got a formal preliminary application.
I do not believe so. But it's been a while on this, so it was at least 2 years ago.
With no one here, and he specifically asked for time, I don't
Yeah.
think we should, I don't think I want to grant them anything. If they can't come,
right,
The other possibility would be to grant this, because we have sort of, you know, reiterated in public that the extensions are not automatic, and then I could contact Mr. Brennan and say, share with him what we've shared publicly, and perhaps add that we haven't seen any evidence that anything is happening on this. I mean, my recommendation would be to consider granting just one more. But again,
one more what?
Extension.
Continuance in the next meeting or extension?
an extension to the extension he requires. He doesn't even, he doesn't
No,
formally
there's no
request.
case number,
He doesn't
there's no
request the
time
appeal.
period, we have no information, I don't see how we can act on it.
You're right, yes, his letter is, let me suggest call the attorney up and ask him what he wants. Maybe his approval hasn't run out yet.
John, how about if we give him a 1-month extension for him to show up next month?
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
That's what I would propose, that we give him a 1-month extension to carry him the next month. And
Mhm.
Jim was right, maybe something happened and he's tied up somewhere. So I think we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but if he doesn't show up next time, I would not vote for him for an extension.
All right, and I think he needs to come prepared, telling us where he is in the project and what the holdup is.
I agree.
What has been done in the past
Right.
6 months.
Would you, Madam Chairman, like me to give him a call tomorrow and find
Yes,
out
please.
what's going? Can I have that back?
Sure.
I would write him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need to write him and be on record, not
No,
just a phone
no, I
call,
will-
but I think we should have correspondence, exactly what our, where we stand on this. I'm starting to get a feeling that he's using us, and I can use myself, I don't need his help.
Matt, do you know when his extension expires?
I do not. Do you want me to go pull the file quickly?
Do I have a file here, maybe? I didn't look for this.
You may.
Let me just peek.
New application.
No, I don't.
Do you want me to go pull it?
Cases.
Yeah, why don't we, maybe you could look that up, and we'll just hold on this till later in the meeting.
Sure, I'll be
Make
right
our
back.
decision. Okay.
So we'll make the decision after.
Yeah, I would like to know time period. He may have already expired. So,
We're going to defer consideration of this then? Is that what you're,
we'll wait until we get the dates
yeah.
and the case number and that stuff.
Again, this is another example of why it's important for people to come to the hearing when requesting extensions so that they can explain. Now, the one letter had detail in it, and that helps some, but I still think there's no substitute for actually having somebody here for the applicant to speak to an extension request.
Okay, let's start with the agenda. Appeal number 2826 was continued, and that is the PNC Wealth Management. Appeal number 2827, Radnor Center Associates, was continued. The next item is Appeal 2828. The applicants James and Leslie Ryan, located at 8 Duncan Lane, Bryn Mawr, and is zoned R1, seeks to complete a renovation on a corner lot which is impacted by 2 front yard setbacks. Proposed renovation will result in encroachment in setback by the corner of the new front porch, a corner of new family room addition, and addition of a 2-car garage accessory building. Area of encroachment is 2.7% of the setback area. Applicant requests a de minimis variance from provisions section 28-15C. Now, there's a question as to whether or not notification was sent to the neighbors, because we have no proof of it, and our code says that we need that in our hands. 3 days, is it prior to the hearing, I believe, not at the hearing?
Yes.
Oh, we
It
weren't
says
aware of
fail-
that.
There's a letter that was,
There was a letter that went out with the packet initially, and it's in our code.
My name is Joe Ryan. I represent my brother Jim Ryan. They picked up the packet, but we thought we were just supposed to bring it to the hearing.
Oh.
and
No.
it has to be bought before. And Mr. Ryan, I assume you're aware of the Glengarry case and its progeny, which basically says that we're not only legislative bodies, but even, quasi-judicial bodies like zoning boards, that's not Glengarry, but one of the following ones, fail to comply with procedure. Their decisions are void ab initio and can be challenged indefinitely. And so I will not deny the charge of being an old lady when it comes to advising this board on squaring with procedure. It is my advice to the board that the Glengarry and its progeny, both for the board's benefit and for the benefit of the applicants, because of an approval, is it all subject to a challenge beyond the 30-day period, is a pretty tenuous approval, that we need to comply with these procedural requirements. So what am going to recommend to the board is that we continue the hearing until April, so that this can now be handed up more than 3 days in advance, and because it's clearly in the code, and not just the letter, it's in the ordinance. And I don't think it's a good idea to get into, is this an important procedural requirement or one that is not important? We are not squaring with our procedure if we go forward tonight. So I would ask that, the board, I would recommend to the board, and I would ask you to, consider requesting a continuance with the extension of time to decide the case till April, and then you can hand that up and we're done with it. And we've squared the corner.
I would agree. I'd rather, when we have a decision, have one that is valid, so.
Okay, thank you.
Until
And
May.
and this has happened in the past, and we've,
It's May.
It's May, and I said continue till April. I'm back in March, I guess.
we are able, yeah. This has happened before, where we've had to continue some others also.
Understand.
So We're
So-
not picking on just you.
On the record tonight, why don't I hand up the,
Yeah, give it to Matt.
And then you grant the board the extension of time and to begin the hearing in April May, have the hearing on it's May 21st is the hearing date?
I'm not sure.
The next regularly scheduled, we'll continue, we have the hearing on the next regularly scheduled hearing in May, and that 45 days from that to continue to issue a decision. You would agree with that on the record?
that'd be fine.
Okay.
And because we're continuing on the record, we don't have to republish or
No,
Notify.
if the proof of publication says that the notice has been mailed, I think we're okay, but I do think we have to square with our code.
Would that be May 20th?
Whatever the third
Thursday?
Yeah.
Third
Third
Thursday?
Yes, right, it
That'd
was
be
Friday
May-
was the 21st. Yeah, May 20th, we'll
May 20th.
continue on May 20.
That'd be fine.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have the file for the Rosedon property, and a letter dated October 16, 2009, request for zoning variance appeal 2782. Dear Ms. Farrell, please be advised, this is from Radnor Township, by the way, to the attorney. Please be advised, at the October 15, 2009 zoning hearing board, your request for a 6-month extension was granted. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Signed, Matt Bauman. Oh, okay, yeah. Do we have the right file?
No, because the addressee
Okay.
is correct, it just got the wrong.
The name is wrong. Okay. So we did grant it from 6 months from October 15, so that would be November, December, January, February, March. That would be today. Yep,
So it's not expired, and if you.
it is tomorrow.
It does expire tomorrow, and if you wanted to give, I think it would be within your power to grant the month and say that they've got to come in next month and tell us.
They got it, I think we have, I would feel remiss if we didn't give them till next month. I
Okay.
think that's not, I think that's fair
All right.
on our part. And
Okay.
and I know if I were him, I would expect at least that much from us.
Yeah, but I also think that, and not only just for this, but for future times, people requesting extensions of approvals
Should
need to
be
come
here.
to the hearings.
I agree with that. I don't think we should approve anything by letter unless there's some extenuating circumstance.
My concern is that Mr. Brennan asked for time, suggested he'd be in attendance, and his absence is unexplained. So I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
All right.
I agree.
So we all agreed to a 1-month
1 month
extension.
extension.
And I will contact Mr. Brennan and follow up with a letter.
Yes.
Saying that he
I-
needs to
I
be here
really
and
think we should be
explain.
in a letter as well.
And
Yeah,
explain.
I agree.
Well, not 1 month, but till the next scheduled zoning hearing board meeting, the one from May. Yeah,
Right.
Whatever date that is.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, that takes us to Appeal 2829. The applicant Timothy Franklin, located at 1 Forest Road, Wayne, PA, zoned R2, seeks a variance under Section 280-20E from rear yard setback and/or a special exception under Section 280-101B1 and a special exception from the riparian buffer requirement of the zoning code to screen an existing rear deck. Applicant also seeks a variance from Section 280-20E from the rear yard setback and/or a special exception under 280-101B1 and a special exception under 281-101B1 from the front yard setback requirement to construct a garage. Applicant also seeks a variance under Section 280-20C and/or a special exception under 280-101B1 of the zoning code to construct a porch in the front of their home. And the alternative, the applicant contends that the relief is permitted as of right.
Evening. After that application, I hopefully everyone's looked at the plot plan because you'll see why we have to ask for everything. It's a very oddly shaped lot. And Nicholas Camilli representing the applicant. Ms. Whitman.
If you would raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
We do.
And state your name as well as your name, please.
Faye Franklin?
Tim Franklin.
And I have a couple additional exhibits. that I'll hand up. And in particular, note that I've marked the new plot plan is A12, and there's really not much difference between the former plot plan, which was A3, and A12. It does show the measurements to the lot line where the former one did not. And as I mentioned to you in opening, it's the classic pie-shaped lot situation. But I'll hand up these exhibits. I have a list of exhibits that are still included that you have before you, and then a couple other additional exhibits.
And the plan that's, this is the controlling plan, not the one that's in the,
Yes, that's correct.
so that A12 is the controlling plan.
A12 is the control.
A3's history?
Thank you.
A3's history.
Nick, there is no engineer's seal in any of these plans. Is it done by?
Yes, Smirga did it. I don't know if I have one. Smirga did the plans, and actually, you've met with him several times. He dropped these plans off to you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's not.
Wait a second, I'm looking in my package, and I've got two things that are A12, and they're very different.
Oh,
This blueprint is also A12.
Mine's marked
No,
A13.
A13.
Oh, wait, no, there's another A12 here. You're right.
The blueprint should be A13.
Okay, I have two blueprints.
I'm sorry. Do you have A12 now?
I have an A12 blueprint and an A13 blueprint.
You don't have a A12
Is there
map.
only one blueprint? Okay.
Here's A12. How about you, John? What do you?
I have an
I have
A12
that A12.
blueprint,
Here.
and
Oh, you just have an extra. You have an
Yeah,
extra
I'll give you that back.
we-
Okay.
yeah, I'm making my blueprint A13.
Yes, it should be. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
thought
see,
it
I got
should
A12, A12, and that, so it's,
There is no A13 here.
I was gonna make you initial the change in blood.
be. That's my error, because I did go back, and I thought I changed all of them, but I must have missed some, because when I marked them.
So Nick, everything is marked, numbered?
Everything is
Okay.
marked, and the new plans we have is A12 is the revised plot plan.
Okay.
That we're using, which replaces A3. A13 is the floor plan.
Correct.
And then A14 are letters of support from neighbors.
Okay.
And Faye, I guess we'll start with you. You've been sworn in. And you're Tim's wife, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and Tim's actually the owner of the home, correct?
Yes, well,
He'll be standing next to you. Tim, you give Faye permission to speak on your behalf here?
I do.
And
You need to stand close to the mic when you're,
I do.
and speak loudly to the mic.
and I'm going to show you initially, Faye, who do you live there with them?
well, me, my husband, my 2.5-year-old toddler, soon to
Yeah.
2.5-year-old son, our dog, and soon to be July another one, so which we don't know the sex.
And I've marked as A2 a copy of the deed, and is that accurate, that Tim's the owner of the property?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And do you know when the house was built? Do you know, Tim? Yes. Go ahead, you've been sworn in, Tim.
No, no.
1998.
No, that's
Oh,
when
I'm
you
sorry,
moved in.
1940 was built. I purchased, thank you. I purchased it in 1998.
And it was built in 1940?
That is correct.
And I've marked as Exhibit A2A. And that's the Radnor Township zoning code back from 1940, indicating the nonconformities that currently exist on the property. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Now, Faye, we've marked, you replaced A3 with A12, and why don't we just go over the property a little bit here. First, we have a number of nonconformities, is that right?
Yep.
And if you look at A12, what we have, that little triangle there that's colored in yellow, outlined in yellow, that's the actual buildable area of the site, is that right?
Correct.
All right, so obviously, the plan shows we have existing nonconformities, one of which is a riparian buffer, which I believe was passed a couple of years ago, and it shows the current home as well as the existing deck is within the riparian buffer setback, is that right?
That's right.
And let's just go a little bit here. What you're proposing, you have an existing deck here on the rear of the property, right?
Uh-huh.
And that existing deck is 24.5 feet from the rear property line?
That's right.
And that existing deck, you're just proposing to enclose it?
Yes, that's right.
It's a raised deck, correct?
It is very much a raised deck. Yeah.
Okay. And then next to it, you have deck 16 feet by 9 feet, and that's just a raised wooden deck.
That's correct. Yeah.
No roof, no enclosure.
No, yeah, that's right.
And that is 19 feet from the property line, correct?
That's right.
And then if you move to the left of that, you're constructing an addition to the home, which is 17.9 feet from the property line?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, where I'm pointing right here to the left of the home.
Mhm.
Just by way, how far, this area back here, your rear lot, is that heavily wooded, your rear area back here?
Very much so. It's wooded, swamped, yeah. It's,
Okay, and how far is actual the residence on this house to the rear, or this property to the rear? How far is that residence from you, do you think? Tim?
500 yards. Probably 500 yards.
1,500 feet approximately? So it's
A big
lot.
difference, yeah.
Okay. Then also on the front here, you have a front door, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and you're just enclosing that with you're not actually enclosing, you're just constructing a porch there. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that porch would be 20 feet from the right-of-way, is that right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay, what's the reason for that porch?
The major reason is we get full sun on the front of the house the majority of the day. It gets very, very hot. In fact, our front door threshold gets so hot, my son burns his hands on it. And it also makes our air conditioning bills astronomical in the summer. So that's one of the reasons, and the other reason is I need somewhere to sit and watch my son play in the summer, because he plays in the front yard more so than the backyard. It's too buggy and too many ticks in the back. So
Is the current gross square footage of the home approximately 1,600 square feet?
that's correct, yeah.
And also, now looking at the site plan, we have Eagle Road out here to the left, correct? And then you just have a narrow sliver that comes in to the main portion of the lot with Forest Road, which it fronts on Forest Road?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. And we're not asking for any impervious coverage relief. We comply with impervious coverage, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
All right, so the only relief we're requesting is actually relief from the riparian buffer in that, which is an existing situation, relief from the rear yard setback and the front yard setbacks, correct?
That's right, yes.
Now, I'm going to show you a series of photographs. And first, is this the front of the house, A4?
Yep.
And that A4, and that shows your front door, as you said, as the heat pounds on it. Which,
Yes, it does. We just had to replace our front door because the first one fell off.
From heat?
From the heat, yeah.
A5, again, a view of the front.
Yes, that's
And it
right.
shows to some extent your side yard or front yard as it goes toward Eagle Road.
Yes.
Again, showing that you can really, it's pretty heavily buffered from Eagle Road and from the intersection of Eagle and Forest.
Yeah.
So, Charlie, I'm just catching up. You're just simply going to screen the existing rear deck that's in the riparian?
That's correct.
It's going to be roofed as
Yes.
well? It'll be, so you're
It'll
going
be
to roof it and
roofed and
screen it?
screened,
Yeah.
yes.
Roof and screen.
Would that be screened, or is that going to be walls?
That's going to be screened.
Screened, okay.
Yeah.
An A6 that shows the rear deck that we're referring to?
That's right, yeah.
Could I ask a question on that? Are you retaining the same rear deck and just adding pillars and a roof and so
Yes.
forth? You're not putting in cement foundations?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, the actual wood structure itself will probably get replaced, but apart from that, it's going to be the same design, same
It's not going to be
size.
enclosed?
Screened.
Screened,
screened.
but like not windows during the winter so that it could be used year-round?
No, just so that we can sit out there in the summer and not get eaten alive by
Okay.
mosquitoes, which we don't use it because we can't go out there in the summer.
As a point of information, the house was built under the 1940 code.
Correct.
Was this deck also built under that code?
Was it there when you purchased it?
It was there when I purchased.
Because it doesn't comply
there
with
when
the
I
existing
purchased
code.
it.
The question is that a legally non-conforming use, or is it a violation, that deck?
Well, you're going to have to talk up if we're going to put it on the record. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I can't imagine that it wouldn't have been there because it's so far off the ground. There's no other way to get out.
It doesn't look like 1940 construction when I look at
No.
it. It
True.
looks like that
When
deck
did the
was-
riparian buffer go in? I mean, if that,
That's recent. That actually probably did.
I mean, if that existed in 1998, wouldn't that predate the riparian buffer?
The riparian
Yeah.
buffer, it's in the code, it says when the riparian buffer was.
But it also encroaches in the rear yard, John.
Oh, okay.
So the question is, what code was in effect when that deck was put there?
The riparian buffer was.
Are we taking an illegal deck and allowing it now to be screened and roofed?
Matt, did you do any research on the background of this to see if there was any other zoning variances granted?
The application says there was not.
I don't believe there were other variances granted for this property.
All right. Nick, did you happen to,
Oh, okay, go ahead. Tim, go ahead. Mind you, go.
Sorry about that.
The riparian buffer was 2003. The deck, there was nothing in any of the files indicating a permit for a deck or anything else on this premises. You know, when they came to me, I remember speaking to the former owner, and then I looked back at my files and I couldn't find any request for relief or anything like that. But I think the former owner was actually thinking of coming in for variance relief also, but we just never probably made the application because they sold the house. But I didn't have anything else on the rear deck showing, you know, when it was constructed.
Yeah, I
When did
can't.
that former owner, let's see,
1989, former owner bought in 1989.
yeah.
so theoretically, it could
I
have
mean, this
been,
deck doesn't look like anything that was built in 1940 or 1950 to me.
no, but it could be 89. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at the wood, it could be.
Could have been in the wood replaced.
Yeah, okay.
I replaced the wood, actually. Back in, I actually flipped the boards.
Okay, you didn't construct a new deck, you just.
No, I just flipped the boards. It was painted. The paint was coming off, which was dangerous, I thought, so I just flipped the boards, and it was fine.
Okay, showing A7, this is the rear yard that we were talking about before?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
house in my backyard. That's correct.
All right, and that's, obviously, that picture's taken during the winter,
That was taken
or recent.
3 weeks ago, probably.
And it shows a distance from the rear yard to the house on that residence.
That's correct.
Do those trees belong to that white house shown in the picture?
They do.
All right.
The fence line, and you can see there in the
Yes.
front line, that's my property line.
And A8,
That is the house off of the front door to the left.
okay, again, it's just showing basically the across the street property.
That's correct. That's from the patio.
And then I believe the remaining photos, again, are of the other homes on the street?
That house, A9, is straight across from our front door, a little bit to the right.
A10?
A10 is the same house view from the front door view of the same one that we saw from the patio.
And A11?
A11 is across the stream to the right on the other side of the stream bank.
And we've already introduced A12 that we're looking at now, and then looking at A13, this is the floor plan,
That's correct.
and this was prepared by whom?
And Ledger, thank you.
And Ledger.
And Ledger.
And Faye, again, this just shows what we talked about. I'll ask you about it. You probably know more about this one. This garage, is that a one or two car garage?
It'll be a one car garage.
Okay, so it's a small garage that you're asking for here.
Yeah, small garage, yeah.
And actually, you're converting what is now currently listed as a garage, although I don't think it's used as a garage,
We
right?
can't get a car in it.
Okay.
No.
So you're converting that into, it looks like a laundry room?
Yeah, yeah,
And a
powder
powder room?
room, laundry room, and a closet, mud room, basically.
All right.
Laundry room, powder room, which we don't currently have, and a closet because we're very short on storage space.
Okay, and then in the rear, as we've talked about, we show the screened-in porch and the deck, correct?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And then in the front, we show the front porch. And again, that's just a porch, again, not screened in, no walls, nothing of that
No
nature.
walls, no.
And finally, I marked as A14, and have you spoken to all your immediate neighbors regarding this?
I have, yeah.
And has anyone expressed any opposition?
Not at all, no.
And we have several letters here, actually, in support of the application.
That's correct, yes.
I have a question regarding A6 and your A13. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't look like the deck that is shown on A13, not the enclosed deck, but the other deck, is pictured on A6.
That's correct. That would be a new.
That's a new deck.
Okay, that's not marked that way on the plans.
Oh, on A12, I see, it says deck. If you
Yeah.
look on the plan, it says 16-foot by 9-foot deck.
Yeah, it's not cross-hatched as to.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
No.
I understand.
And
Yeah, I did
also,
say
it's
in the-
not really indicated on the blueprint as being new.
Oh, because it doesn't have the solid line around it. But we weren't trying to, I mentioned it in
Okay.
opening that we were
I
putting it in.
think we need to correct the plan if you want to
Okay,
cross-hatch it
sure.
and mark new on there.
I did mention it in opening, that I wasn't,
Okay.
obviously we weren't trying to.
I do.
Yes, we just do initial, we're gonna cross-hatch the existing deck. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
The new deck.
Proposed deck.
Will that be at the same height as the one that's being screened in?
No,
It'll
because
be lower.
currently we have, from the main deck that we have now, we have 3 or 4 steps going down to like a platform deck with access to the rear of the garage. And then there's another, say, 3 steps down to the patio level, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'd be removing that.
So this deck would be low, so the proposed deck would be lower than the existing deck.
It'd be lower than the existing deck. It'd probably be about the same level as the
steps.
small area of deck there is there right now, which is basically just access to the rear of the garage.
Yeah, there are steps down from the existing deck to a lower platform, mini deck, if you want to call it.
Right.
That shows on A6.
Yeah, that is shown on
And
the
then
picture.
3 more steps down to the ground.
Okay.
So the new proposed deck would probably be at the mini deck level, I'd imagine. 3 steps down,
Right.
4 steps down.
Okay.
And that will not be screened, will it?
No, that's going to be open.
Yes.
What's the distance from the furthest point of the, what I'll call the lower deck, or the closest point to the rear yard? Is that 15 feet, 18 feet? How far is that?
And why can't you slide that forward? Then you won't, then it'd be a 101 again. We're talking about where the existing patio
Yeah,
is,
that
and
one
you're gonna
there.
build the garage or whatever.
Yeah, that's 19 because it's, putting the roll on it, it's 19 feet.
Okay,
And that's what that, that's.
and then
a
you-
And the other one is 17.9.
The
See?
other one is 17.9.
Why can't you slide that forward so it's
13
19,
inches.
and then you have,
An easy 101B1.
you've got one L, one B1, and you got the foot because it's offset from the
Except
garage,
that-
it's there now.
The deck that's marked 19 isn't there now.
Yeah.
That's not an existing feature, all there
That's
is
not
a
existing.
landing.
That deck, remember, I just cross-hatched that. I
Yeah.
don't know if
The one that's marked existing deck is there now, and the
But
little
the
garage
16
is
by
there.
9's not there?
No.
What is,
No.
what is that one that's in the picture?
Yeah, they took that down.
That's just a
That's the
landing on the way
existing
down the
deck.
steps.
That's still
what I was just
existing.
questioning.
See, it has steps on the deck, then it
Yeah.
has a landing.
Yeah, but it's there, I mean, it's
But
a
it's
building.
smaller.
It's smaller.
How much is it smaller?
It's about 2 of these tables.
But how much is this landings there, Nick?
Do we know how far the landing is from the rear yard?
Do you have any existing plans?
it's
of it?
here, because that's closer.
Is that closer to the house than the old deck
It,
was?
it looks to me like it's, well,
It is closer.
Yeah.
it's closer to the house, yeah, right. Even with the way the lot line goes.
Because
You gotta slide that forward. If he slides it forward, it's even gonna be
Are you
more.
talking about the garage or
The
the
whole thing's gonna slide.
deck?
You
Well,
know?
not really, because the garage
Yeah, but I mean,
isn't
if
gonna
you
move
slide-
forward.
Yeah, no,
This,
but
the new garage could slide
Well,
forward.
that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah,
the
that's
old
all we
garage is
care
not our
about.
problem. The problem is the 17.9.
Yeah,
If he slides this forward,
he won't have that.
he won't, it'll be great. It might be as, it'll be less than what it is there already. Then it's a 101B.
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
then, but we still have it with this one here.
But that's existing. That's what
Not
I wanna know.
exactly.
Yeah, well, that's there now.
But that's wider.
Because we
Well,
have room.
that's what we need to know,
forward.
is what that distance is.
Now, what are you saying?
Well, if you.
I'm sorry, Charlie, go
you
ahead.
can kind of ballpark it, but-
And well, it's an angle, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
See, what I'm trying to,
Is
what I'm
that
trying to.
closer to the property? I know, I believe what you're saying is this portion, if you can see it here, where the step is,
Yep.
the landing,
Yeah,
is
what's
that
the
closer
landing-
to
the width of your
property line
landing?
than
What is that
this deck here?
dimension? If that, you gotta get back to that dimension. You gotta move, or,
whatever the closest dimension is.
yep,
then it's in, no, it's a 101.
it's a 101.
But the proposed deck, no matter how you put it, unless you make it patio,
Where
It's
are
gonna-
you?
it's gonna
Which
be-
one, what is the
the
proposed deck?
16 by 9
This
one,
one
the one I
here.
just cross-hatched in.
No, that one he's talking about, you need to find out the width of what's currently there, like that middle landing.
Okay, all right.
So is this going to be 6 inches further out than that, or a foot further out?
This is gonna be further out than that.
It's definitely going to be further out than that because
This deck.
currently the platform that we're talking about does not extend past
My problem's gonna be
the end of the garage. I think it just about, the current garage, sorry. I think it just about, no, it doesn't quite meet the end of the garage. It goes to about here, right?
And that steps there. It has steps down from the deck, then a landing, then steps down
Yeah.
You
further.
gotta go from where the steps go.
Yeah.
So it goes to about here and then there's steps down. Right?
The final steps end at the existing garage, basically. The final steps end at the existing garage. You go up 3 steps to a landing, up 4 steps to the existing.
Is there a door into the garage from the stairs?
There
or-
is a door into the garage from the stairs.
Is it on the landing or below, at the bottom of the steps?
It's on the landing.
Right.
This-
Yeah, and also in the front, Nick, I'll give you 2 problems at one time. You can multitask. The front porch, all right, I think what you gotta try and figure out to do is the steps that are there now,
Right, which
Okay.
is, it's about, it's,
well,
2
let me
feet
finish,
past-
all right,
3
let me
feet past.
finish,
Yeah,
let me
go ahead.
tell you my concerns. And then you can, all right, we're talking about the front deck that you're gonna put on, or whatever that is, in the very front. So if you're looking at A4, okay, I think where you have to do is make that, you have to stay within the bounds, the depth of the steps that are there now. You can't build to the steps and then build the steps. You gotta use the steps as the entrance including your porch.
That would make it a 5-foot wide porch, I guess. 5 foot,
Yeah, but you know, you can come all the way across the front.
right.
And then have your steps come off the side.
If they can.
In other words, they use this. In other words, it would be like right along here, right there, and then this would lead up, and then the porch would go that way.
That's this one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that shows that right there.
And that's also a one-on-one.
Remember this here?
So everything's a one-on-one. He really doesn't need anything if he does that, right? And it's an easy deal.
Just so we know though, when we come across like that because of the shape of the lot,
Yeah, but it's, you know, the problem's in the back with the lot shape. In the front, you have a lot of, you know, you have somewhat.
well, if we measured from the steps in the front,
Out.
we're 28 feet from the right of way, from the steps.
And what are you allowed?
Well, we would say that's the non-conforming because the code requires 40.
Okay, but you have 28 now?
We have 28 now,
Okay.
or actually maybe 26, actually, looking at it. Yeah.
Doesn't it say 28.5 on the plan? Is that what that?
It does, 28.5.
Then what's the other one, 20?
He's showing
Well, I'm-
20, yes. Because of the way,
The
if you
curve.
notice, the right-of-way comes around, so to square it off.
It's 27.5 to the existing corner of the house as well.
Right, so
So we see that slope.
Right.
so you could, you know, as long as you stay within that 27, you're,
He can't, then
You
he's
can't.
got a
Right.
triangle.
yeah, but then
See, the
then
way
it's
it
it's a lot problem. That's your hardship,
Right,
is
yeah,
the lot
right.
area. As long as you
Yeah,
stay within
because
that,
it
you know, you hit that
You're
line to
saying
come across.
start where the steps are.
Right.
And then square it.
Right,
rectangle
square it,
off.
yes. And then, you know, if you happen to encroach, at least in my opinion, then if you happen to encroach, it's because of the way the road and the triangular lot, you know, that's a hardship, I think. What do you think, Pete? Okay.
And I guess the other portion was the garage, you would want pushed up, is that what I was hearing
Yes,
too?
yes, move forward.
Move forward, it could be the same size, but just
I
move
mean, you can
forward.
move it all the way to here,
Okay, now,
right?
go back to Ann.
Well, you have,
Do this, or do you wanna?
the edge of the new garage is 27.5 feet from the front. So if it's moved forward, you're gonna have.
Yeah, but that-
I'm sorry. I was saying that
Yeah, but it's
from the
not,
right-of-way, the new garage would be 27.5 feet. If you move it forward about 4 feet, you're going to be closer.
yeah, but we
Yeah.
haven't exceeded the
What the
smallest
other one
point.
is, yeah.
Whatever the smallest point was, which is,
Well, we would because of the way the line runs
right,
along
Right.
Forest.
right, the way the line,
But
as
if we-
far
So
as,
there's a tension between the rear and
Yeah.
the front.
right.
If we pushed it up 5 feet, which is about where it would go.
You'd be about 22.5.
From the road.
Yeah.
So then,
And it would square the house up too. You wouldn't have as many cuts. Right?
It's hard to read
Yeah,
the
but
numbers.
cuts are nice.
Yeah, see what I mean?
The corner of the existing house, what's that setback?
That corner there?
From the right-of-way to the corner of
It's,
existing dwelling?
28.
That
From the
says tw-
garage, where the garage is, on that corner there, oh, right.
mine's
clearer.
28.5, is that what that says?
That says 28.
That's true.
So we're consistent, we have 28.5 there and 28.5 to existing stairs.
Right. But no, see how the streets really,
it really comes
forest kind of really snakes,
Yeah.
you know, and they've got nothing in the back. I mean,
See,
it's just,
if we push the garage up 5 feet, or
Existing garages.
the existing,
no, you're not touching the existing garage. We're not talking
I
about
mean,
that.
proposed garage.
Yeah, just move it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask a question on that point, or go to that point? This property line in the back, not the one that's along the stream, but this long property line here at the bottom of the plan? Has that owner back there written a letter of supporting this?
He's been contacted, hasn't responded. We
Because if he
sent him a
doesn't
letter-
care with the garage being there, wouldn't you rather have it, the encroachment in the back than up on the street frontage? If the person who lives back there, if he doesn't care, wouldn't you rather have it too close there.
Because remember too, in the rear too, where his house, you can see from the picture, is fairly far away. Probably, 1,000 to 1,500 feet away.
Plus, that would give you more parking in the driveway if the garage stays
Yeah.
where it is.
He's never opposed any tree removal or anything like that from his property line on that back. He basically says, do it.
If you have to squeeze a line, you'd rather squeeze
Yeah.
the back line than the front line, unless the guy on the other side of the back line objects. Why would you want to?
Yeah, he has a copy of the blueprint also, we've been
And
told.
he signed one of the letters, did he not?
No, that's Tony McDermott, he didn't sign
He
one.
didn't.
Yeah,
return anything.
see, if he had, that'd be easy.
But he didn't oppose. He's received notification of everything. He's gotten the blueprint and everything.
He's gotten 2 letters, actually. I think you sent him one and I sent him one.
What do you plan on doing with the front porch? Is it purely for cosmetic reasons and to shield the door?
You got this, then you come back out.
Well, mostly
Deck going around it,
to
you
shield the
come
door,
back
but
in,
also somewhere to sit with when my son is playing, and so I have somewhere shielded from the sun to sit with my infant while he's playing, because at the moment, it's.
Where does he normally play, on the side?
He plays.
It
He
looked like
plays out
from the
towards. He
photos.
plays out the front, right, directly out the front, and to the left of the property. That's generally where we try and keep him away from the stream because of the mosquitoes and so on.
Is the front porch going to be roofed?
Yes.
But no walls.
Yes, my son, you can see in A4, the one tree there, we actually huddle underneath that tree in the sun, and that T-ball's right there because of that, typically, because that's the only shade we have existing in our whole front yard. I planted that tree there for that reason, to gain shade, and plan on planting more trees there to gain more shade, because it truly is, it can get to 100 degrees inside of our house. Because the sun literally just goes right around the front of the house.
Charlie, I really don't have an objection to a wider porch on the front. Because 5 feet is fairly narrow to sit on.
It was recommended.
What is
but
the
it was
width of it
recommend-
now, as drawn? The proposed new porch?
It was recommended 11. I brought it back to 8 after reading a book about the style of how Cape Cod houses. They recommended an 8-foot porch so that light still gets in but shades the front windows. So I asked Ann to bring it back to an 8-foot and also bring it, conformity in. So it would be an 8-foot porch. And we're trying to keep the traffic flow to the front of the door instead of across the porch, so we're able to have a sitting area there that we can entertain in.
Well, I think if we allow the porch to go out 8 feet, you'd need to bring the steps to the side, because the steps would be further encroaching into the front yard.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
Yeah,
stop, was the
but
additional
maybe
encroachment.
stay with the width of the porch, but put your steps on the
Yeah,
end.
that's
But how would you-
that's fine.
how would
Yeah,
you do
no,
that?
it makes sense to put the steps
Why?
in probably because you're
It
gonna
can
have
come down the side.
the driveway's gonna be right there. Yeah, that's
Well,
fine.
you have some space there, you have a turnaround,
Yeah,
but you still have space for steps.
Yeah, they have no problem.
we have no objection to
Okay.
that. No.
Yeah.
The front
Would
porch
you-
is
would you
not going
make
to go the
would you
entire
make
width of the
porch on the
house.
other side?
No, just to the
They want it on
right
the
of the front door.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, but if, what you're talking about is put the porch on the opposite side, so the steps would come out, so when they get out of the car, they would walk up the porch.
No, I'm talking about leaving the porch where it's drawn, but the steps that are coming off the front, put off the side.
Yeah, but they would have to walk past the porch and come back.
No,
What
they
I'm
wouldn't.
saying, yeah.
Where I'm talking about putting the steps is right next to the driveway.
But your issue
Into the
is that
driveway?
the sitting
Yeah.
area on the
at the plan.
porch would be where
Right
the
here.
steps are now going to be.
They'd have to traverse the whole width of the
Why
porch
can't
to
you,
get to the
why
front
can't you
door.
move the porch over
Yeah.
a little bit?
You just flip it.
But they have to do that anyway if they're walking on a sidewalk, so what difference does it make?
Can you do that?
Move it over. I'm sorry.
Let
Move
me
it
just
towards
make
the
sure I
other
understand.
Yeah,
You-
I
you're
think if you
talking
put it in
about
front of the
flipping
other windows, you don't have to traverse the whole porch.
So
The reason we have the porch on that side is because our living room, our family room is on that side, and that's where we spend most of our time.
That's where you want it to be shaded.
And it would be the hottest room in the house. So that's why we put it on that side and also moved it away from the stream at the same time, because that's the wettest area. That's how we ended up with it on that side. I traditionally wanted to go the whole length of the house, but that would impede, I think, on our building square footage, and we
And
decided-
impervious?
we didn't really need that, and we decided just to go with the half porch under Ann Ledger's recommendation on that side.
Yeah, I don't object to the placement of your porches drawn there. I'm just suggesting that the steps come down from the left side, looking at the plan straight on, left side towards the driveway.
That's fine, yeah.
But that does give you a challenge with the sitting area.
Well, not really, because
Well,
you'd
you'd have
have,
to-
It's only if you
you
look-
have the, still can, oh, I see, because your door's there you're talking about.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
checked it, they
Okay.
traversed the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think traversing is an issue, because they have to walk further if they do what they're currently doing. You're talking about a seating arrangement.
They're traversing in the sense that they're not gonna be able to put furniture on that deck,
Yeah,
except like
Whatever.
one chair deep
Yeah.
Right.
along the house. Because they have to have a corridor to walk.
Right.
Which is the,
They need a walkway.
which is the current
Yeah.
problem,
On
the
the deck.
existing
I think
deck in the
there's
back,
enough
actually. It's the
room
exact
there to
same
deal with that.
problem.
There wouldn't be if it were 5 foot. But an 8 foot, I think there's enough room for seating and walking by.
8 foot would be, it would be tight.
8 foot is what,
Definitely
as
tight.
drawn right now.
Just so I can clarify, both the existing deck to be roofed and screened and the front porch, we're talking 2 porches that are roofed and screened and that's it, not walled.
No, one porch, the back porch, the back deck is roof and screen. The
Okay.
front porch is just roofed.
Roofed.
No screening on
No
the front
screening.
porch?
It's just a regular porch, yeah.
These 2 windows in one room.
Okay. For your information, Matt did a little research, and this property was before the zoning hearing board in November of '96, and there was it was granted for the rear addition.
Oh,
Oh, I did not know
was
that.
that
Which would-
that was the Hearses, or the Hearst?
It
Doesn't
must
have a name on it.
Yeah, it must have been the hearses, because we do
So
have
it's
existing,
96.
we have old plans
Well,
where
I
they,
was wrong then, because I think that's probably appeared with them on that, and just thought that maybe we didn't, because I looked and I couldn't find anything.
Sorry, what was approved in '96?
It says rear addition,
Which includes what?
doesn't say.
It's probably the deck.
Yeah.
It's- no,
Looks
they
like the
put-
only
they-
thing new there was the
we
deck.
have the existing plans that they actually, when I bought the house, they gave it to us. It was a whole family room going off the back.
Well, maybe that's what was approved.
Yeah, I
then.
think that was.
We'd have to actually pull the file to see, but this is just out of the computer.
Keep in mind that if stuff was done by variance, it is not, those distances do not support the limit of a 101B1 special exception. Something that's created by variance does not support expansion by non-conforming use or non-conforming expansion.
So that could be a house addition that was never done, or it could be the porch. We wouldn't know unless you actually pulled the plans, which you could if you wanted to. Yeah, that's what we're guessing. So, to sum up, the front porch, you're going to put the steps on the side,
Yeah.
correct?
I'm sorry.
You're going to move the steps coming off the front porch to the, if you're looking at the front of the house, it would be the right-hand side,
Yes,
between the, towards the driveway, let's say,
that's correct.
okay? And the proposed garage, we're leaving as is, rather than shifting,
Yep.
at Noah's suggestion. And, leaving the unscreened and deck the way it is as drawn also. All right, now your reasons why this should be granted.
Well, it's the classic irregularly shaped lot. It's a pie-shaped lot. You have a very, very small triangle here as to where the buildable area is. You have numerous existing nonconformities. And it's a dimensional variance, not a use variance, which less strict standards apply.
Worst thing is Yep.
And the hardship is
The hardship is the shape of the lot.
just a lot.
I think you're gonna have a problem with the porch in the front, when you go to do what you wanna do. I agree with, no, you're gonna have that aisle and it's gonna be useless.
What island?
Aisle.
Oh, okay.
Rather than having an arrangement of furniture in a corner, you'll have them on either end, because you have to walk between them.
Get to the front door.
However, they're agreeing to
Is there
putting
anything you
steps
can do
inside.
to
Yeah.
extend the porch
Yeah, I mean,
further
that's
to
what
the
we're,
left?
what
do
we're
you
trying to
wanna-
do is figure out a way so that they don't get halfway through and figure out they can't do it and they're back in front of us again.
Yeah, because I mean, the other
Well, do
issue
you
is
want
getting a
to
stroller.
say-
How about if
stroller
you,
in and out as
how about
well.
if you moved, how about if you used one of the windows on the left and then the other two windows, and then bring your steps? Then you're still covering part of what you have. So what Noah said is, if you build a porch and you put the steps on the driveway side, that means you gotta have an aisle. When someone comes in your front door, they gotta walk
Yeah,
the
it's-
whole length of the porch.
It's bad design. I mean,
You know,
that's
it's
not
just-
our
it's just-
purview, but it's
it's-
bad
It's
design.
just not gonna, you know.
It makes more sense to do it the way they want to do it, but it creates more of an encroachment.
Yeah.
The people across the street who look out on this, did they give letters of approval?
They did.
Yes, they did.
I mean, if they don't care what it looks like that they see every day, I'm inclined not to care as much, you know?
Do steps count as far as intrusion, or are they like parapets?
No, they're like, I don't think they count.
Well, if that's the case,
What do you say?
well, under our code, parapets and fireplace chimneys, et cetera, don't count in terms of extension into the building envelope. I was just wondering if steps like this were similar.
They count in Jersey.
Okay, here we are in Radnor though, right?
Not the people who vote.
Matt, do you have any comments on that?
I would think that they do not count. I mean, I agree with you with chimneys and the encroachment in the setback, that they would not count.
Okay.
Well, if that's
All
the
right.
case, then the
Yeah,
steps could
we're
be
good.
left where they are.
Yep.
And you have your seating arrangement, and it works.
That would be our,
Except
that would be our
for-
preference, so that we have a seating area.
John, do you have a comment?
But to the extent that the board accepts that there's a hardship imposed by this shape of this lot, then that argues for, assuming the hardship is there, for relief that would make something reasonably functional. And if the moving of the steps is going to really, be a crimper on the function of that porch, and there's no evidence that this is gonna be injurious, as, so far we haven't seen anything in the record in terms of objections. It comes back down to, does the board agree that this lot has hardship because of the thing? And minimum relief to me would give them a reasonably functional porch, not the Taj Mahal porch, but a reasonably functional porch.
Yeah. Any other questions from the board? Any other comments, Nick?
I have nothing further, just requesting exhibits to be part of the record, please.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Since we know that there was an earlier application acted on by our predecessors, do we need to see if they conditioned the relief or did anything else that may be affecting
Well,
the present application?
it probably would be a good idea to see. However, I'm not sure that it was ever built because I'm assuming it might have been the porch, but it says addition.
Do you have a copy of the decision?
How difficult is it to get that?
I can go down in the basement now and pull it. May I have that appeal number again?
Sure. 2270 in 96, November 96.
And this way we can tie a neat bow on the whole thing and.
Why don't we
Sure.
take like a 5-minute
I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, let's call the meeting back to order. We have found the file. Permission was granted to build an addition, which was never built. So we're assuming that the porch was there then because it was going over where the porch currently is. So they're
The deck.
expanding, the
deck,
deck, yes, and they're expanding beyond that, adding a garage on the side. And basically, that's what it was. But the work was never done. Any other questions from the board? All right,
What are we doing?
we're going to take a vote.
I mean, I understand, but what are we, have we changed anything, or is it, we're good?
Well, we did find also that steps are included in the front. So are we going to grant that variance also, based on the hardship of the lot, and let the steps stay where they are?
I personally don't have any trouble with that.
All right,
Yeah, I'd move that we do that.
all right. All right, who would like to take this?
I'll do it.
All right.
I propose that we give them a special exception for 280-101B1 for the rear. The variance at 280, this is hard for me to say, 280-20E for the riparian right-of-way encroachment, because they're really not doing anything other than building a screen on top of what's already there. A special exception for 280-101B1, the variance for 280-20C, and a special exception for 280-101B1. And the hardship is, the configuration of the lot is really triangular,
And very
they've
small.
done the best.
Yeah.
And it's small, and they've done the best they can working with what they have.
Charlie, what about the changes you have suggested? That should be as a condition.
I think those changes are
I
I don't think
think
there
we-
are any changes.
took them
Yeah.
back.
We
Yes.
took it back to what it originally
to
was
what
Yeah,
they
that's
asked
the
for.
technical explanation of how we're letting them have what they've asked for.
Right.
Yeah. We were looking at ways that they could possibly pull it in, and we found that it wasn't
Right,
workable
it just wasn't
and
workable
usable.
because of the way the configuration of the lot and how the existing structure is on the lot presently.
All right. And nobody is here to object to it, so. Noah?
Actually, no, we have 5, so I think
No,
Noah doesn't
can't
have to vote.
Okay.
I'm superfluous tonight.
Okay. Sorry. Peter?
I'm in favor.
Jim?
I agree as well. I think it's a 280-101B1 as to the existing rear deck that they're putting the screens on. I think it's a variance as to everything else, but I think a sufficient hardship has been shown, that the grant of relief is appropriate.
And this is approvable by order if that's what the board wants to do.
Yeah.
That's probably a good plan.
All right. No.
Approval
Or
by
I
order.
agree also, so it's approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There being no further business, we will adjourn the meeting.